We are on day 5 of the mock draft journey Doug is taking us on. We only have like 1,000 more days left to go, but we're slowly and steady getting there. Plus, would you trade the number 1 overall pick even after Cooper Flagg's performance last night? Would you be willing to trade it if you got it? Would you be willing to trade up for it? What would it take? All those questions, all those conversations today. Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your pods, and that includes YouTube. Doug hosts another pod that's on YouTube. It's Locked On NBA with Matt Moore and Hayes. He's also on everyhornetsboxscore.com. I'm Walker Mehl. You can listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. Stock up today and stay energized. Finally, we have a newsletter. It's still a new newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Hornets Daily Newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. You can sign up for free right now. LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Hornets newsletter. I was watching Cooper Flagg last night. I was dreaming that he was in the purple and teal as he was still donning the royal blue. Just do everything possible to help Duke win that game against Arizona. Hold off not even a somewhat comeback, a real comeback from the Wildcats. But there was just too much Cooper Flagg after going for 30 points last night, 9 of 15. He went 3 of 5 from three-point range, including a buzzer beater at the end of the first half to separate them just a little bit, grab some momentum, a few blocks, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Defensively, he was amazing. My God, Doug, I can't envision a world where we get the number 1 overall pick and then we trade it unless you give me your firstborn. Anything less than that, I'm sorry, Cooper, you got to stay here in Charlotte because I just can't trade you. How are you feeling watching Cooper Flagg last night? Because I know you stayed up for a little college hoops action, Doug Branson.
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, he can do so many things, and there are so many player comps. And when you have so many player comps that are, I mean, we're talking, I've seen Kevin Garnett, I've seen Scottie Pippen, I've seen Kawhi Leonard, I've seen LeBron James. I would throw one more in there. His passing vision and the way he sort of somewhat awkwardly operates inside the three-point line reminds me a little bit, again, not physically, same with the LeBron comparison. He's obviously not physically like LeBron, but it reminds me a little bit of Nikola Jokic. Like his vision, his passing, and the way he just sort of operates inside the three-point line in a way that seems to confuse defenses is amazing. You know, there's some math with all of the three-point shooting that's going on in the NBA right now that says that if you shoot, an average three-point shooter today shoots 36% from three, which is a points per possession of like 1.07. And if you were to try to replicate that with just 2-point shots, this is the whole math game that teams are playing now. To replicate that, you'd have to shoot like 53.5, 54% from two, which is why everyone encourages you not to do that, not to be DeMar DeRozan.
Well, the mid-range jumper extensively, right? Like the mid-range jumpers more so than just twos, right? Because they still want you to get to the rack, but the whole DeRozan of it all is, how about we don't pull up from 17 feet all the time?
Right. Yeah, I mean, you're talking exclusively because yes, I mean, big guys are going to do that from two, but you know, there are other sacrifices that you make there. But like, yeah, for forwards, for guys that are shooting mid-range jump shots, you've got to be 54% or higher to make up the difference. I think Cooper Flagg could do that. That's my whole point to that. Like, I think honestly, I think he's going to shoot plenty of threes. But just the ceiling on his offense, I don't know where it is. I can't even see it.
Yeah, I think if we're really to look at one weakness, I still think his handle could get tighter in terms of we need you to be a just sole shot creator in the half court. We saw early in the year where he lost to some really good teams, Kentucky and Kansas. Kansas was number 1 coming into the year, and Kentucky was a top 10 team. And final possession, turnovers, dribbling off of his foot. You speak of that awkwardness, but again, I am, taking out the magnifying glass and trying to find flaws, and it's still good, by the way. It's just like every once in a while it gets a little loosey-goosey, but Cooper Flagg still can clearly do just enough improvement there to where he's totally fine, and his ceiling reaches a crazy height. He can do it all, man. It's just what you were watching last night. I think people wanted to see the tourney game where he takes over. What's so interesting about his game is that he doesn't need to take over. He just morphs into whatever you need him to be. So the first 2 games of Duke's tournament, one was against a 16 seed, so oftentimes we don't count that. And then the round of 32 matchup against Baylor. Okay, so now you really got to play because they have talent on that side. Now we're wondering, is Cooper Flagg going to have this coming out party? Great game, 18 points, impacts the game in a bunch of different ways, but it's Tyrese Proctor that is the main storyline, hitting 7 of his 8 3-pointers. Do we get the explosive Cooper Flagg, oh my God, game? You got it in the Sweet 16, and there's plenty more. I think there's plenty more to watch of Duke, but you got it here and left no doubt about it that he can take over.
He's 18 years old, so any awkwardness you see in his game, he's 18 years old. He doesn't turn 19 until December.
He turned, 3 months. He's been 18 for 3 months. Yeah, it's he's only 17, but it's
he's only 16. Like, how far do we go with this? But so there's that factor. I think Duke wants him to be more aggressive. And early in that game, you saw him deferring to others, trying to get others involved. But again, to me, that just shows you at 18 years old, he understands the game at a level that you probably normally don't get to until you're 22, 23 years old. And again, it's very similar to Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller coming into the league older, but had a just supernatural basketball IQ for his age. Understanding when to shoot, when to pass, when to make those plays.
I think Cooper lived in a perfect space in those final 10 minutes of the first half, first 10 minutes of the second half, where he took over and scored when he needed to, and he was just throwing a million alleys. Malawach just throwing them up there. Gongba too. Malawach actually missed one of the oops. Yeah.
Talk about fit. He's playing with a guy in Malawach that's getting what's his pro comp? His pro comp is Mark Williams. So he's already getting practice with the guy that could be one of his running mates in Charlotte.
Okay, so instead of just continuing to fawn over Cooper, we'll have plenty of time for that. What would it take for you to trade the number 1 overall pick? If you got it, because we don't take me through the examples, because if the Hornets get the number 1 overall pick, if you see that logo revealed last and we're all celebrating, what would it take for you to say, okay, we want to make a big move, and that move does not involve selecting Cooper with our pick that we were rewarded?
Well, we have a question from the Sicko Satchel that is exactly that, from Hallie of the 12th Dwight Howard division. It's quite a long question. It's in depth, so maybe we get to it on the other side. But before we get to that, we did talk last show about LeBron's comments to Pat McAfee insinuating that maybe the Cavaliers getting the LeBron pick was a little bit rigged, like the Patrick Ewing to the Knicks, like the Derrick Rose to the Bulls draft lottery. And we said, look, if it is rigged, wouldn't it make a lot of sense for Cooper Flagg to be rigged to the Charlotte Hornets because of the, Duke being in North Carolina, Charlotte connection? He's from Maine. Steve Clifford is from Maine. Well, the commenters were very quick to point out that Gabe Plotkin, one half of the Schlotkin combo ownership group here in Charlotte, is also from Maine, which makes me a little suspicious that we have some Schlotkin burners in the comments. Who knows that Gabe Plotkin is from Maine? But we also we missed an obvious connection, and that's Rick Schnall is obsessed with Duke University. They held training camp this season at Duke University. He loves him some Duke. So there's connections all over the place.
All over the place, baby. I love it. Let's feed into this conspiracy. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
What would it take for you to give up Cooper Flagg if you were rewarded the first overall pick? And is there a world where if you get the fourth or the third overall pick, what would you give up to go get Cooper Flagg? We'll have that combo coming up next. Locked On Hornets. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Daylight savings snuck up on us again, and if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, which was me all the way through, especially Texas Tech, Arkansas last night, what a game, except I didn't get to bed until 1 a.m. Eastern time. Squeezing in a round of golf after work possibly, or you're just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. Whether it's basketball madness that you're staying up for, because like me, I've been staying up watching all the tournament action every single day, extra daylight, extra activities. Now you got a whole bunch of people hitting you up. Hey, what are you doing this evening? What are you doing this afternoon? It's light out for till 7:30. Come on, get off the bed, get off the couch. Let's do something. Or if it's just an on the go type of convenience that you're looking for, whether you're at a game, traveling, 5 Hour Energy, it's easy to grab, and then it keeps you feeling refreshed. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, peach, mango. Ooh, all those sound nice. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. If you need one now, grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Okay, Doug. So we get to see the logo revealed. Unlike what happened a couple of years ago, where the Hornets were rewarded Brandon Miller. They made the right choice, and so it was still a good pick. It will still be a good pick if they get second or third or fourth, or they're going to have a chance to make the right pick once again. And they've done that with their third overall pick in LaMelo and their second overall pick in Brandon Miller. So there's a little bit of a recent history there. That's good. We still won Cooper, clearly. If you get that number one overall selection, what would it take? What would it take to allow somebody to move up and go take Cooper? Stars, 3 first rounders, the Godfather offer. What would it take?
Yeah, so here's a question from the Sicko Satchel from Hallie of the 12th Dwight Howard Division. You can join the Sicko Brigade like Hallie and submit your question at subtext. Joinsubtext.com/Locked On Hornets. You can get a free trial, get all your questions in. Hopefully you hang around and support the show, but you do get a 14-day free trial. Here's the question. What do you think the odds are that the Hornets end up dealing this first-round pick? After the Luka trade, it feels like anything is possible, and I can imagine a scenario where you could package that pick plus Brandon Miller for Giannis, for example. There are so many teams stuck in weird places with their stars, desperate for a championship. Only 2 of them will make it all the way, and the second apron is upon us, so I'm anticipating an exciting offseason. In my mind, it's going to be a matter of taking all the calls and seeing what the best offer is for every asset, and every asset you have, and seeing what you could build. Personally, here's where Hallie really goes into sicko land.
Okay,
Personally, I don't really want the number 1 pick. I remember last year feeling relieved that we didn't have to deal with the Wemby hype, but I also know that I'm a different kind of Hornets fan, drawn to them for the underdog status in the last few years. I haven't suffered like the rest of you have, LOL.
Okay.
I think if they traded the pick or end up falling out of the top 3, our pal Eric might have a stroke. Anyway, curious about your thoughts on if it's a guarantee that the Hornets make this pick. So there's a lot to digest there, Walker. Where do you want to go?
Well, Hallie apparently has only been a fan for the last few years and likes the underdog status and already wishing us more pain. That's not cool, Hallie. We appreciate your listenership, but that's not cool.
Well, I'm not a psychologist, but I think I can comfortably diagnose Hallie with Stockholm Syndrome. Like, she is a victim of the Hornets suffering in a way that she's trapped there and has never experienced some of the high highs that we have with Charlotte. And they haven't been like title highs, but they have been almost conference finals high. They have been playoff series winning high. Like, I still remember that. Even playoff series going high in 2015-16. Like, I do remember what it was like to experience those games, and I want that again. So yeah, I mean, I think that I would have been perfectly fine with the Wemby hype because it means you're going to get national TV games. It means your team's going to have a little pressure on you. I mean, I think that's, to me, the thing that's been missing from Charlotte since those 15-16 days. Austin Rivers, interestingly, talked about this on his podcast. The idea that when you go through a rebuild, sometimes you attract players that are comfortable playing in the rebuild and actually want to stay in the rebuild because they know they have job security. Because when there's actual pressure, when there are national TV games, when your team is being written about, when winning and losing actually matter, all of a sudden you have to perform every night or you're going to be gone the next season. And so playing on a rebuilding team can sometimes be comfortable. And as that rebuilding team, you have to be careful about what kind of players you attract. And it's why, honestly, I think the Hornets roster is due for a reshuffling, is due for a little bit of a cleaning house to figure out which players actually want that light on them, want that microscope on them, and which ones are just cool collecting a paycheck. And so that Wemby hype would expose, that Cooper Flagg hype and his intensity too, I think would expose a lot of that, put light on this team in a way that I think would be really healthy.
More than the players, it would expose the front office. That's who gets the job security in a rebuild, because now there's nothing you have to do. Is it time to win? No, it's not time to win. So now we can excuse your 20 victory season. We can excuse your next 25 victory season. Oh, you got some injuries. Now we can excuse your 18 win season. It's
second inning of a ball game, folks. We got 7 innings to go.
So this is what the rebuild actually does: is it gives job security to your head coach and it gives job security to your GM, and you never actually have to do anything. So if you select Cooper Flagg, now the clock starts ticking. You could have argued, and you should argue, that clock should have started ticking with LaMelo Ball a few years back. The injuries.
I tried to argue that vehemently on this show, and no one would listen.
I would listen to you.
No one with the team would listen.
I was about to say.
I even yelled it at Mitch Kupchak running down the streets of uptown Charlotte. I yelled it at him, and he wouldn't listen. I think he had headphones in.
And so eventually his job security, it waned, and he was out, and now enter Jeff Peterson. And you even have new ownership. So, right, to me, is it a guarantee? I'll answer that part, too. Is it a guarantee? It's a guarantee. You're just not trading it. I can't see a world like. I don't even know what it would take, Doug. I guess it could be Giannis and Brandon Miller, and then what, another first? Like, I mean, I don't know what it would take, but I'd rather just go after Cooper, keep all of my assets instead of trading for Giannis. And now you have somewhat of a nice core, and then you can still go through this monster roster turnover and then keep 2 or 3 or 4 pieces that you want. But Cooper Flagg is going to be the first overall pick for Charlotte if Charlotte is rewarded the pick. I'd be pretty frustrated too. Like, I don't know if it would be Giannis. I mean, I think the worst guy that you would trade for is Zion, who's amazing, but clearly there's a lot there with the baggage. I'm not doing that. I don't know what you realistically would trade the number 1 overall pick for.
So I wondered, the last couple of first overall picks that got traded, what were they? Markelle Fultz in 2017. That was a Philly-Boston swap. Boston went back to 3 and got Tatum. Philly got Markelle Fultz. That didn't work out. So there's your risk right there, is that even if, it's a reward, I guess, for Boston. They traded back and got Tatum, but are you confident the Hornets are going to are you confident that Ace Bailey or VJ Edgecombe are going to be better than Cooper Flagg? No, like Markelle Fultz had serious question marks ahead of him in that draft. So there was a reason to trade that number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I think the thing about Markelle is it's just the weirdest fall off story ever, because he had the injury and then he had the yips and he could never get right. He was actually a really good shooter at Washington. It's just that is such bad luck for Philadelphia. I mean, it is such bad luck for them, to be honest with you. But I think it wasn't a foregone conclusion that Markelle Fultz should be the number 1 overall pick. I think he should have been. I think most people would say, yeah, you take Fultz number 1, but it wasn't Cooper Flagg-like, and it wasn't Wemby-like. And so when you have these guys, so if you were to rank all of these players that were drafted number 1 or are going to be drafted number 1 over the last 15 years, it's Wemby, it's Anthony Davis. I think that's your number 1 and number 2 prospects over the last 15 years. Wemby, AD. Cooper is battling for that number 3. Zion, battling for that number 3. Cooper's there, though. Like, and even with that Cade stuff, Cade was supposed to be the number 1 overall pick. I'd put Cooper above Cade, but I'd still put him in that same category, right? Where he's not the Wemby and he's not AD, but Cooper Flagg feels like a sure thing in terms of his floor being, I don't know, over under 2 All-Star appearances. That's what it feels like.
So Cleveland traded Wiggins in 14 for
Kevin Love.
But Charlotte doesn't have a LeBron James that is, waiting to return and turn Kevin Love into a, finals piece. So that's not realistic. Here's one that I think is, again, I'm with you. You don't trade the number 1 overall pick. Let me just get this one in particular with Cooper Flagg. It's just too much of a sure thing. Too many people are sure about this guy. But if there is a situation that is somewhat analogous, it would be 93 when Chris Webber was traded from the Magic to the Warriors. And that was for, I believe, Penny Hardaway and 3 future first-round picks. So you're talking about a Penny who, Memphis State, lesser-known school, but was highly regarded. It's another 1-for-3 swap. Plus, you get the 3 future first-round picks. So that's a huge haul.
Well, but you know why they did that, though? They did that because they had Shaq. So when you have Shaq on Orlando and you're going for fit, you draft the point guard that Shaq tells you to draft because of how amazed he was on the set of Blue Chips. And so you just go ahead and appease the big fella. Okay, buddy, we won't draft another big to pair with you down low. We'll get you a point guard that can feed you the ball and stretch the floor. And so even that one, there's no Shaq on this team. There's no LeBron on this team for you to actually draft based off of fit. Or for you to draft based off of, we have the best player in the game. Let's win now. You don't have either of those situations.
So exactly. So it's not really analogous, but you do get a young star in Penny in that way. So I don't know what the situation would be other than some incredible thing for Giannis. Where Hallie is right is that anything is possible post Luka trade. So we can sit here and say, well, that's impossible. Milwaukee would never. But I think anything's possible after that for sure.
Okay, so I think the more interesting question might be the reverse. Let's ask it. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
If the Hornets get unlucky and they get the 3rd overall pick, the 4th, I don't know if you could drop any further and then go get up to number 1. But what would it take to go get Cooper Flagg at number 1? And would you be willing to give it up? That's coming up next, LOH. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness, it's here, and it's mad, folks. And FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. You could pick your favorites. You might have your eye on a few underdogs in this year's format. FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. Maybe Alabama over Duke. That's an underdog that you might be interested in picking. You could stay in on the action with tournament games happening almost every day. There's always something exciting to bet on. Plus, it's easy and it's fast. The FanDuel app is simple to use. When you win, you get paid instantly. There's no waiting around. Visit FanDuel.com. Get in on the college hoops action all tournament long with FanDuel. More Locked On Hornets ahead. So the reverse of that is true, right? In terms of going back through history, what teams have traded up for that number 1 overall pick, and have they been rewarded for doing so? So if we go back and look at some of these teams, Philadelphia was not rewarded. Weird, freak, unique situation in how Markelle Fultz and his talent and his potential fell off of a cliff. He gets injured, never learns how to shoot ever again. Salvages his career into being a nice off-the-bench point guard, but not worthy of the number 1 overall pick. Boston gets Jason Tatum, who is a top 5 minimum player in the league. So, yeah, clearly works out for the team that's trades down in that scenario. Andrew Wiggins was a sure thing. You know what? The way we were talking about Wiggins, Doug, I probably should include him somewhere close to the top. If Wemby is in his own tier, if AD is in that second tier, Wiggins is in that third. we had the rigging for Wiggins. We had the mishandle for Randall. We had the low seed for Embiid. That was an all-time tank draft because the
Maple
top
Jordan.
Yeah, you had all these guys. Maple Jordan for sure. Great. Like, people were excited about Wiggins as the number one overall prospect in a draft class that had all sorts of guys people were excited about. Sorry for Jabari. Oh, yeah, dude. You had tons of great tanking names for that draft. And it worked out for Cleveland. Very different circumstance. Didn't work out for Minnesota. Wiggins, we know what Wiggins is. Not a number one overall pick worthy. Never made an all-star team, but helped Golden State win a championship in the right situation. And then we can go back to Orlando, where Chris Webber was an absolute freak show coming out of college. It's Golden State that gets him, and that he had a weird early year to his career. I think he plays for Washington after Golden State, or vice versa. Doesn't play for those teams very long either. So it's kind of dicey. It's a weird track record for these teams doing it.
Well, because if the number one pick is available,
yeah,
there's a reason. Oftentimes there's a reason. It's very well, we should say this, like the NBA is very different from the NFL in terms of the draft and your ability to move up regardless of really where you are in the first round.
Right.
It's extremely difficult unless the perfect situation presents itself. Oftentimes, when you're trading young player for young player, like Indiana and Sacramento did when they swapped Halliburton and Fox. Like, there are these rare situations where everything makes sense, but oftentimes the value of getting a player when they're 18 or 19 years old, now, how the draft works, when you are drafting guys this young, teams love to get guys like that in their system because you think about Cooper Flagg, and he has so much going for him right now, but the opportunity to get him into your system and mold him into the player that you want him to be, as opposed to going and getting a veteran for that pick that is already understands what he is, and you're going to have to mold the team around that player as opposed to the reverse. Teams just love that opportunity. Front offices love that opportunity, and the idea of getting Cooper Flagg for 2 contracts that are going to be pretty amazing contracts relative to his talent, that it's just too much to pass up. You can give me 4 first-round picks, don't care. You can give me a budding young star, don't care, because I know that young star already has an idea of what kind of player he is, and I'm going to have to work around that, and I'm closer to having to break the bank to keep that player than I would be with the contributions that I'm going to get from Cooper Flagg.
Okay. Are you the other team? Are you the team that does want to give up the 4 first-round picks in order to go get them? And so realistically, let's talk this through, because if you look back at the last time this happened, it was Markelle Fultz, right? So Philadelphia agreed with Boston, and Philadelphia moved up, Boston moving back, and there was a 1-3 pick swap. So let's just give the Hornets the 3rd overall pick. Let's just play in that world. Philadelphia sent Boston the number 3 overall pick in Thursday's draft. I'm reading this from a current time, of course. And then the 2018 first-round pick that the Lakers owe the Sixers. The Celtics would receive the Lakers pick in 2018 if it falls between number 2 and 5. So you had some picks that you were giving up, but basically it's like pick swap, a first-round pick, better of the 2, whatever. It wasn't multiple first-round picks. It wasn't an all-star that you were giving up. I think it would take more than that. It would take more than what you're talking about. A first-round pick, let's just call it a first-round pick and a pick swap. I think it would take more than that to move up from 4 or 3 to number 1 overall. So are you talking 2 first with whatever levels of protection that makes sense to you, 3 first, 2 first, and 1 first in Brandon? What, like, how much are you looking into it, and how much would you be willing to give up? I think that's a really difficult question to answer.
Yeah, I'm looking at, by the way, I got to get my mock draft in here very quickly before time runs out. But I think the scenario where that would pop up is if somehow OKC wins I think they would have to fall out of the top 7, right? So for OKC to even have lottery odds, Philly, I think Philly is top protected 1 through 6. So I don't even think they could get it. But if one of the teams like at the bottom of the lottery that have like percent chance, there might be a team or two there that it would make sense for them to even entertain it. But yeah, I mean, if you're Charlotte, you give up whatever it takes. I just don't think that there is a price that is going to persuade a team to not select Cooper Flagg. But if there did in some universe present a price, then yeah, if you're the Hornets, you do whatever it takes, because I'm not sure about what Cooper Flagg could mean to this franchise, and I'm not sure about anything else on this roster. I'm not sure about Brandon Miller. I'm not sure about LaMelo Ball. I'm not sure about Mark Williams. I'm not sure about Miles Bridges. I'm not sure about this front office's ability to convert some of the first-round picks that they've acquired into actual NBA talent. Not because of their past performance, but because I just don't know, because this is a young front office and we just don't know that information yet. So, yeah, I would want them to try to do whatever it takes. I just think it would be similar to last season when I think the Hornets did make inquiries into moving up for both Castle and Reed Shepherd, and they were turned away because the Rockets and the San Antonio Spurs were confident that those players were going to be good. You take that up another 5, 7, 10 levels on whatever team lands that first overall pick for Cooper Flagg. It's just not going to happen.
Okay, last thing before the mock draft. I'm not even sure what teams would do it, to your point, but if I had to choose, if you forced me to choose teams that might do it, it wouldn't be Utah. They wouldn't do it. Wouldn't be Washington. New Orleans could. If Zion continues to play as well as he is, and they want veterans, and they're saying, we want LaMelo to create for Zion, we want some shooting alongside him, we want Brandon Miller for some shooting alongside him as well, maybe New Orleans would make some sense. Philadelphia, if they're hanging on for dear life, maybe they want LaMelo to try to help Joel Embiid in his old man age, Paul George because he can't create as well anymore. Maybe Philadelphia. Brooklyn's not doing it. I don't think Toronto's doing it. Maybe, but I don't think Toronto would do it. San Antonio, no, because they already have De'Aaron Fox. It's a perfect fit. Right, exactly. Perfect fit.
That's devastating. That's like maybe 4 championships in a row. Like that scares the bleep out of me.
And you and I both went there immediately. It's not like we eventually became on the same page. We were on the same page immediately. So those are your top 10 teams that you're talking about. Miami, if Pat Riley is just so hell-bent on winning now, but that's the issue, Cooper Flagg feels like he's going to help you win pretty immediately, too. It doesn't look like there's all that much time to cook on Cooper Flagg. So, yeah, those are the teams. Fun combo to have. Really, what we should do is just get the first overall pick and not have to worry about what it would cost to go get up there.
Seems pretty simple. I like that plan. Let's try it out. Let's sim the lottery here on Tankathon. Beep, boop, 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 beep, boop, boop. Oh, unfortunately, they moved down 2 slots. We've been really unlucky with the Tankathon this season. I don't think we've moved up one single time since we started doing this. They moved down 2 slots to the number 5 pick. Washington gets number 1 overall. God help Cooper Flagg if that happens. Utah drops 1 spot. San Antonio does move up. They move up 5 slots to get the number 3 pick. Brooklyn moves up 2 to get number 4 overall. All right, so with the 5th pick, according to NBADraft.net, with the 5th pick, the Charlotte Hornets select. This probably would not happen. Jeremiah Fears, the 6'3" point guard out of Oklahoma, freshman. I don't see that happening. Too small. You point guard. They've got enough of those already. 185 pounds. I just don't. I think if they had the 5th pick, there's some other players around like Trey Johnson, Asa Newell, Con Knipple. Really, just take your pick. We talked about Jokuchonis on the last episode. I'm taking that guy. I'm taking Derek Queen 5 over Jeremiah Fears. I know I'm a big don't worry about fit, but I'm tired of taking small guards. I just don't want a small guard.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess, the small guards have been more so the 2nd round pick. I guess it wouldn't even fit their draft profile because they don't take small guys in the 1st round. They take, whether it's the old regime or the new regime, Mitch Kupchak, look, not that Mitch Kupchak was great. It wasn't all bad with Mitch Kupchak, right? Because I did like the philosophy of getting these versatile, rangy, long, big body type of guys where you are looking at LaMelo. If you want to give Mitch some credit for Brandon Miller, you probably shouldn't, but at least he was still selected on Mitch Kupchak's watch. Miles Bridges and LaMelo and Brandon Miller, all of that. Mark Williams, even Tijon Salon now with Peterson at the helm. That's been the Hornets type, so I'm with you. I don't know if they would want to go small in the 1st round. If they did, you're probably talking about VJ Edgecombe or Dylan Harper. I don't know if you'd get any smaller than that, which is what you would be selecting if Jeremiah Fears was the selection. So not a good 3-point shooter last year either. Jeremiah Fears feels like maybe a Derek Queen or one of the Duke guys might even be the pick here instead of Fears, unlike what the mock says.
Yeah, listen, I should correct that. I'm not tired of taking small guards. I'm tired of watching small guards. I just want this team to be long, strong, and ready to get the friction on. I'm just learning that there is a guy in this draft named Solo Ball. He is a Yukon Huskies guard. Solo Ball. I assume no relation. I feel like I would have heard that.
We would have heard it.
Heard it, yeah.
We would have heard it.
There you go, Solo Ball.
Okay. Sir Mix-a-Lot reference to end today's show. It's beautiful. That'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free. We're available anywhere you get your podcast. That does include YouTube. Go check out Doug Branson and his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. You can also listen to Locked On NBA. Matt Moore and Hayes helping him out over there. I'm Walker Mehl. Listen to me, WFNZ, every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Have a great weekend, folks. We'll be back with you on Monday.